What legal preparations do you advise for gun owners, CCW holders to do to prepare for the huge aftermath of a defensive gun use? And what do you recommend people consider or need to know before being a constant CCW carrier?
Great questions. So I always talk to people about being honest with themselves about whether or not it's in their constitution to take a life. And I want to make sure that it's clear that I am by no means suggesting that you should look forward to taking a life, or you should intend to take a life, or want to take a life, or anything along those lines. Quite the contrary. If you're going to carry a gun, then I think you have an extra added obligation to bend over backwards and move mountains and do whatever you possibly can to avoid having to use that firearm. However, the only reason you strap a gun to your body is because, as Tom Gibbons would say, you might have to shoot somebody. And we hope it doesn't happen, but that's the only reason we put on a gun, is because we might have to use it. Mm-hmm. So you have to be honest with yourself in advance about whether or not that's in you. And if it's not, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. If it's not, that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's totally fine. It drives me insane when instructors shame people who have any hesitation about hurting other humans or taking a life, or, if you don't know if that's part of how you would handle that, then there are other options. Let's talk about how best to prepare for going out into the world without carrying a gun. If you think you will hesitate when you need to use a gun for self-defense, then that gun may be doing you more harm than good. It may be,
I totally agree,
more. Yeah, it may be jeopardizing your safety more than it's securing it. So we need to talk about other options. So that's one thing that I say, as far as preparing to be a concealed carrier. You have to look yourself in the mirror, be honest with yourself, and ask yourself that question: do I have it in me? But then you also need to really think about the realities of the aftermath. So what all does it entail? Every bullet that leaves your gun is attached to a whole bunch of different things: lawyers, bank accounts, there's all kinds of stuff that comes along with that: potential social ostracization, possibly fallout at your job. Any of those things might happen. And some of that we've seen happen to people that we know on the big stage, in full public view. So you want to at least have given some thought to all of that beforehand. There are plenty of people who have had to defend themselves with a firearm and won the fight, but nobody wants to be in their shoes for their subsequent life, which can be a disaster. So again, there's a lot to balance there. And I don't want to discourage anybody from carrying. That's absolutely not my intent here. All I'm saying is that if you're going to carry, just understand that there's more to it than putting a gun on. You have a responsibility to train. You have a responsibility to be safe. You have a responsibility to secure that firearm when it's not on your body, because you're responsible for it regardless of who handles it. You have a responsibility to at least think proactively about what all the aftermath of a defensive encounter will entail, including the legal battle, the social battle, the ethics battle, the morality battle, the spiritual battle, personal relationships, all of those things. Just understand that none of that is immune from the effects of your having to use a firearm in self-defense. And yes, you can overcome all of that and be perfectly fine. It's 1000% doable and possible. It's harder if you've not thought about it beforehand.
Yeah, I imagine it's hard even if you have. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know how helpful that was. I don't have anything super concrete to say, but those are my suggestions for preparing for the aftermath. But again, I can't say this enough. I'm sorry to beat a dead horse there, but the best way to prepare for the aftermath is to avoid it altogether.
Yeah, sounds like it, because that's that's a lot.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, that's a lot. There, I mean, that just literally changes your life forever.
Yep.
So